My daughter-in-law called me an old war relic at my 75th birthday party. Ashley Johnson stood up during the toast. 30 family members and neighbors watching. She raised her wine glass high and said, "Here's to Chuck." I just hope this is his last birthday. Dead silence. I'm Charles Williams, Vietnam Marine veteran, Purple Heart recipient, saved 12 lives in the jungle. And in that moment, watching my son Stephen sit there like a coward, saying nothing, I felt something cold settle in my chest. I stood up slowly, looked Ashley dead in the eye. "Thank you for those kind words, Ashley." My voice was steady, but inside the old Marine was waking up. Because 3 hours earlier, I'd found something in her purse that changed everything. My Purple Heart was gone. And if you think this story ends with me taking that insult lying down, you don't know Marines. Let me tell you about Ashley Johnson. She married my son Stephen 5 years ago, June 14th, 2019. Real estate agent from Phoenix. Drives a white BMW X5, lease payment $497 a month. Always talking about her social media following, 45,000 followers on Instagram, posting videos about luxury lifestyle and success mindset. But here's what really got under my skin. Ashley had been making comments about veterans for months. Not just me, veterans in general. She'd scroll through Facebook during family dinners and laugh at Memorial Day posts. "Look at all these participation trophy heroes," she'd say, acting like they saved the world. My son would just sit there, never said a word. 3 weeks before my birthday, we were at Stephen's house for dinner. Ashley was showing off her latest real estate commission. $42,000 for selling some tech executive's mansion in Scottsdale. She kept waving the check around like it was a lottery ticket. "You know what, Chuck?" she said, pointing that manicured finger at me. "Your generation had it so easy. You guys got handed everything. Free college, cheap houses, pensions. We have to actually work for our money." I bit my tongue. Didn't mention the 2 years I spent crawling through Vietnamese jungles. Didn't mention the shrapnel still lodged in my left shoulder. Didn't mention watching my best friend Tommy Martinez bleed out in my arms on March 15th, 1969. But it got worse. Last month, Ashley started a TikTok series called Boomer Reality Check. 17 videos so far, each one mocking what she called outdated values. Military service, hard work, loyalty, respect for elders. She had a whole segment about how veterans expect special treatment for doing their job. One video got 23,000 likes. She's standing in her kitchen, designer coffee cup in hand, saying, "These old guys want a parade for following orders." Like, honey, you weren't saving democracy. You were government employees with guns. Stephen showed me that video, thought it was funny. That's when I knew I'd lost my son. But the birthday party incident? That was just the beginning. After everyone left that night, I went to my bedroom. The Purple Heart display case sits on my dresser. Mahogany wood, glass front, gold nameplate, engraved Charles Williams, USMC 1968 to 1970. Inside, my Purple Heart medal, bronze star, and the letter from President Nixon thanking me for my service. The Purple Heart was gone. Now I'm not senile. I'm 75, not dead. I remember exactly where I put that medal. Right next to my bronze star, just like it's been for 54 years. I searched the entire house. Under beds, in drawers, checked the kitchen counters in case someone moved it while cleaning. Nothing. Then I remembered. Earlier that day, around noon, Ashley had asked to use my bathroom. Said the guest bathroom was occupied. She was up there for maybe 10 minutes. I thought she was just touching up her makeup. That's when I found her purse. Ashley had left it on my kitchen counter when she went to get her car keys. Louis Vuitton Neverfull bag, $1,890 retail. I wasn't snooping. I was just moving it so I could wipe down the counter. The purse tipped over. And there it was, my Purple Heart, wrapped in a Kleenex, stuffed in the bottom of her bag like spare change. But here's the thing that really made my blood boil. There was also a receipt. Printed from her phone, an eBay listing. Vietnam War Purple Heart Medal, Authentic Military Award. Starting bid, $2,500. Buy it now. Price, $3,200. She wasn't just stealing my medal, she was planning to sell it. The listing description made me sick. Rare Vietnam Purple Heart from estate sale. Medal awarded to brave American hero. Perfect for collectors or military enthusiasts. Certificate of authenticity included. Certificate of authenticity. From an estate sale, like I was already dead. I took photos of everything with my phone. The receipt, the medal, the eBay listing details. Then I put the medal back in her purse, exactly where I found it. Because suddenly I had a plan. You see, there's something Ashley didn't understand about Marines. We don't retreat. We don't surrender. And we sure as hell don't let anyone disrespect our brothers who died for this country. She wanted to play games with a war relic? Fine. Time to show her what this old Marine could do. But what I discovered when I started digging into her finances, that's when I realized the Purple Heart was just the tip of the iceberg. Ashley had been stealing from me for months. Bank statements, insurance claims, VA benefit checks, all of it adding up to a number that made my hands shake with rage. The theft I uncovered was just the beginning. The next morning, I called Ashley. It was May 28th, 9:15 a.m. She was probably at her real estate office, updating her Instagram stories about morning motivation and hustle culture. I kept my voice calm, professional, like I was asking about the weather. Ashley, it's Chuck. I need to ask you about something. Oh, hey, Chuck. What's up? She sounded distracted, probably scrolling through her phone while talking. I noticed my Purple Heart is missing from the display case. You didn't happen to see it when you were upstairs yesterday, did you? Silence. Then, your what? My Purple Heart. The medal I received in Vietnam. It's been in that case for 54 years. Chuck, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why would I know anything about your old war stuff? Old war stuff. There it was again. I'm just checking with everyone who was in the house yesterday. Maybe someone moved it by accident. Well, it wasn't me. I was barely upstairs for 5 minutes. That was a lie. I'd timed it. 12 minutes. Okay, Ashley. If you happen to remember anything, just let me know. Sure, whatever. She hung up. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Ashley again. But this time, she wasn't pretending to be helpful. Chuck, Stephen told me you've been asking everyone about some missing metal. This is ridiculous. You probably just misplaced it. You're 75 years old. I didn't misplace anything, Ashley. Look, I don't know what kind of game you're playing here, but I don't appreciate being accused of stealing. I haven't accused anyone of anything. I simply asked if you'd seen it. Right. Well, for the record, I don't care about your dusty old medals. They're not worth anything anyway. Not worth anything. A Purple Heart. Awarded for wounds received in combat against an enemy of the United States. Not worth anything. I see. And another thing, Chuck. Maybe it's time you stop living in the past. The Vietnam War was 60 years ago? Nobody cares anymore. You're not special because you followed orders and shot people in a jungle. Shot people in a jungle. I'd saved 12 American lives. Carried wounded soldiers to safety under enemy fire. Took shrapnel in my shoulder and kept fighting. And she called it shooting people in a jungle. Ashley, I think we should talk in person. No, we shouldn't. I'm busy. I have actual work to do. Real work that matters in the real world. Not sitting around telling war stories to anyone who'll listen. War stories? Yes, war stories. Look, Chuck, I know this is hard for you to hear, but nobody wants to listen to that stuff anymore. It's depressing, it's old, and frankly, it's kind of embarrassing. Embarrassing. You think my military service is embarrassing? I think your obsession with it is embarrassing. Stephen agrees. We've talked about it. You need to move on. Find a hobby. Maybe volunteer somewhere. But stop expecting everyone to worship you because you were in the military 50 years ago. Stephen agrees. My own son had been talking about me behind my back. What else have you and Stephen discussed? That's between me and my husband. But since you asked, we're worried about you. Living alone in that big house. All those old memories. Maybe it's time to think about assisted living. Somewhere you can be around people your own age. Assisted living. She wanted to put me in a nursing home. I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. Are you? Because losing important things. Making accusations against family members. That sounds like the beginning of dementia to me. Dementia. She was trying to make me sound crazy. Ashley, let me be very clear about something. I am not losing my mind. I am not misplacing things. And I am not making false accusations. Then what are you saying, Chuck? I'm saying I know exactly what happened to my Purple Heart. Another silence, longer this time. I have no idea what that means. I think you do. You know what? I'm done with this conversation. You want to play detective over some old medal? Go ahead, but leave me out of it. I have real problems to deal with. What kind of real problems? Problems you wouldn't understand. Money problems, business problems, adult problems, money problems. That was interesting. Ashley drove a $70,000 BMW, lived in a $500,000 house, spent $300 a month on manicures. What money problems? Maybe I could help. Help? Chuck, no offense, but you're a burden on this family. Stephen and I are trying to build a life here, start a family, buy a bigger house, and we can't do that with you constantly needing attention and support. A burden. That's what I was to them. I've never asked you or Stephen for money. It's not about money. It's about emotional energy, time. Stephen spends half his weekends over at your house, fixing things, listening to your stories, babysitting you. That's time he could be spending with his wife. Babysitting me. I see. Do you? Because I don't think you do. I think you're so wrapped up in your glory days that you can't see how selfish you're being. Stephen feels guilty leaving you alone. He's constantly worried about you, and that's not fair to either of us. You're right, Ashley. It's not fair. Finally, it's not fair that my son married someone who has so little respect for the sacrifices made by better people than herself. Excuse me. You heard me. The line went dead, but I wasn't worried, because what Ashley didn't know was that I'd recorded the entire conversation, and what I'd heard told me everything I needed to know. What the eBay listing revealed next would change everything. That afternoon, I went back online. Ashley's eBay seller profile was under the username AshleyLux32. 37 seller reviews, all 5 stars. But here's what made my blood run cold. This wasn't her first military item. She'd been selling military memorabilia for 8 months. World War II dog tags, sold March 15th for $450. Korean War field jacket, sold January 23rd for $675. Vietnam-era compass, sold December 8th for $220, all listed as from estate sales or family collection. But I recognized some of these items. The Korean War field jacket belonged to my neighbor, Frank Peterson. He'd died last November. Ashley had volunteered to help his daughter clean out his house. Said she knew people who collected military items could get good prices for the family. Apparently, she'd kept some for herself. I scrolled through every listing, found 15 military items sold over 8 months. Total revenue, $8,430, all from deceased veterans' families, all listed with fake stories about estate sales and family collections. Then I found something that made my hands shake. My own Bronze Star was listed, posted 3 weeks ago. Starting bid $800. Description: Vietnam Bronze Star Medal. Rare military decoration, estate sale find. Certificate included. It hadn't sold yet. Still active. 22 watchers. She'd stolen 2 of my medals, not just the Purple Heart. I went to my display case. The Bronze Star was still there, which meant she'd taken photos of it, listed it for sale, but hadn't physically taken it yet, probably waiting to see if it sold before committing the theft. But there was something else. The listing mentioned a certificate. I checked my files. My Bronze Star certificate was missing from the folder where I keep all my military documents. She'd taken that too. This wasn't random. This was systematic. I called my bank. Chase Private Client, where I'd been a customer for 32 years. Asked to speak with my personal banker, Margaret Davis. Chuck, good to hear from you. What can I do for you today? Margaret, I need you to pull up my account statements for the past 6 months. I'm looking for any unusual activity. Of course. Give me a moment. I waited. Outside my window, I could see Stephen's house 3 blocks away. He was probably getting home from work right now. Probably telling Ashley about our phone conversation. Probably taking her side. Chuck, I'm looking at your statements now. Is there something specific you're concerned about? Any withdrawals or transfers I didn't authorize? Well, there are several ATM withdrawals from your account, but you have 2 authorized users, so that would be normal. 2 authorized users. Stephen was one. I'd added him 5 years ago when I had that minor heart episode. But who was the other one? Margaret, who's the second authorized user on my account? Let me check. Ashley Johnson, added August 14th, 2023. August 14th, 2 months after my heart episode. I'd been in the hospital for 3 days. I never authorized Ashley to access my account. Can you tell me the total amount of those ATM withdrawals? Over the past 6 months? Let me calculate. $47,300. $47,000. Margaret, I need you to freeze that account immediately. Remove Ashley Johnson's access, and I need printed statements going back 12 months. Chuck, are you saying these withdrawals were unauthorized? That's exactly what I'm saying. I'll freeze the account right now. The statements will be ready for pickup tomorrow morning. Do you want me to file a fraud report with the bank's security department? Yes, and Margaret, I'm going to need the name of a good estate planning attorney. Chuck, is everything all right? Everything's about to be. That night, I sat in my study with a bottle of Jameson whiskey, the same brand Tommy Martinez and I used to drink in Saigon when we got 3-day passes. I poured 2 fingers and stared at the wall where my medals hung. $47,000, 8 months of systematic theft, military memorabilia fraud, forged bank authorizations. Ashley Johnson wasn't just disrespectful. She was a criminal. I pulled out my phone and did something I hadn't done in 15 years. I called my old unit commander, Lieutenant Colonel Rita Brown, retired now, living in Colorado Springs, but once a Marine, always a Marine. Chuck Williams. I'll be damned. How are you, old friend? Rita, I need help. Military help. What kind of help? The kind where someone is stealing from veterans and needs to be stopped. Tell me everything. So I did. The birthday party insult, the Purple Heart theft, the eBay fraud, the bank account theft, all of it. When I finished, Rita was quiet for a long moment. Chuck, what do you want to do about this? I want to destroy her. Then let's get to work. What Rita discovered in the files made my blood run cold. Rita called me back at 0600 the next morning. Military time, old habits. Chuck, I spent all night digging into your daughter-in-law. What I found is worse than you think. How much worse? She's been running this scam across 3 states, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. I found her eBay sales going back 2 years. She's made over $90,000 selling stolen military items. $90,000? But that's not the worst part, Chuck. I contacted some of the families she stole from. The Peterson family you mentioned? She didn't just take Frank's field jacket. She took his Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor. The highest military decoration. Frank Peterson earned it in Korea for single-handedly destroying 3 enemy bunkers while wounded. It's worth $15,000 to collectors. But to Frank's family? Priceless. She listed it as a reproduction to avoid suspicion. Sold it for $1,200 to some collector in Texas. Frank's daughter, Janet, has been looking for that medal for months. Thought she'd misplaced it during the estate cleanup. My hands were shaking. This wasn't just theft. This was desecration. Rita, what else did you find? Insurance fraud. She's been filing false claims on your VA benefits, submitting medical reports saying you need home care assistance, collecting payments for services she never provided. How much? $18,000 over 14 months. She's listed herself as your primary caregiver, claims she's providing 20 hours a week of personal care services. 20 hours a week. Ashley barely visited once a month. She's also been intercepting your VA benefit increases. Remember when they raised disability payments last year? That extra $260 a month? She rerouted it to a bank account she controls. I felt something cold spreading through my chest. The same feeling I'd had in Vietnam when we were about to walk into an ambush. How did she get access to my VA records? Forged power of attorney documents. She submitted them 8 months ago, claiming you were experiencing cognitive decline and needed assistance managing your affairs. Cognitive decline. She'd been planning this for months. The dementia accusations during our phone call weren't random insults. They were part of her strategy. Rita, I need you to document everything. Every transaction, every forged document, every stolen item. Already on it. I've got contacts at the VA Inspector General's office. They're opening a formal investigation. And Chuck, I called the FBI. The FBI. Agent Sarah Martinez, Financial Crimes Division. She specializes in veteran fraud cases. She wants to meet with you tomorrow. What do I need to bring? Everything. Bank statements, eBay listings, photographs of the stolen medals, recordings of your phone conversations, all of it. I thought about Ashley's voice on that recorded call. Her contempt, her arrogance, her certainty that she could get away with it because I was just a harmless old man. Rita, there's something else. I'm changing my will. Good. Cut her out completely. Not just cut her out. I'm leaving everything to veteran organizations. $6.2 million. The house, the investment accounts, everything. Chuck, are you sure? That's Stephen's inheritance, too. Stephen chose his side when he sat silent during that birthday party, when he agreed with his wife that I was a burden, when he let her steal from me for months without saying a word. The truth was, I'd been supporting Stephen financially for years. His mortgage payment, car insurance, health insurance premiums, $1,500 a month, every month for 5 years. I thought I was helping my son build a stable life. Instead, I was funding his wife's criminal enterprise. The will change is just the beginning, Rita. I want them to face consequences. Real consequences. They will. Martinez says veteran and fraud cases get prosecuted aggressively. We're talking federal charges. Prison time. How long? For the amount of money involved? Ashley's looking at 5 to 10 years. Maybe more if they prove it was an organized scheme. 5 to 10 years. Ashley Johnson, real estate influencer, trading her BMW and designer purses for an orange jumpsuit. But I wasn't done yet. Rita, I need one more favor. Name it. Memorial Day is next Monday. VFW Post 1234 is having their annual ceremony. I want Ashley and Stephen there. Why? Because I'm going to make an announcement about my new will, about my decision to leave everything to veteran organizations, and I want them to hear it from me, in front of the entire veteran community. Chuck, that's brilliant. Public humiliation and witness documentation in one move. Exactly. And Rita, make sure Agent Martinez is there too. You want to spring the trap at the VFW ceremony? I want Ashley to understand that when you steal from one Marine, you steal from all Marines. What we discovered about the VA fraud scheme would shock even the FBI. Agent Martinez arrived at my house Friday morning, driving an unmarked black Suburban. Sarah Martinez was maybe 40 years old, sharp suit, military bearing. Turns out she was Army military police before joining the FBI. She understood what this case meant. Mr. Williams, I've reviewed the evidence Lieutenant Colonel Brown provided. This is one of the most comprehensive veteran fraud cases we've seen. She opened a thick manila folder on my kitchen table. We've identified 63 victims across 4 states now. Ashley Johnson and an accomplice network have stolen over $400,000 in military items and fraudulent benefit claims. $400,000. An accomplice network. Who are the accomplices? We're still investigating. But we believe your son, Stephen, may have been involved, at least peripherally. He signed several of the forged documents. Stephen, my own son. Agent Martinez, what happens next? We arrest them. But I'd like to do it at your VFW ceremony. Maximum impact. Send a message that veteran fraud won't be tolerated. Perfect. She pulled out another document. We'll need you to wear a wire during any conversations with Ashley before the arrest. Can you handle that? Agent, I carried wounded Marines through enemy fire for 2 years. I think I can handle one conversation with my daughter-in-law. Good. We're setting up surveillance around the VFW post. When Ashley shows up Monday, we'll be ready. After Martinez left, I drove to VFW post 1234. The building sits on 5th Street, red brick, American flags out front. I'd been a member for 48 years. These men had seen me through 3 divorces, my wife's cancer, my son's troubled teenage years. They were my real family. Commander Bobby Thompson was behind the bar when I walked in. Vietnam veteran lost his left leg to a landmine in '68. He looked up from wiping glasses. Chuck, good to see you. What brings you by? Bobby, I need to talk to the membership. About Monday's ceremony. What about it? I'm making a major announcement about veteran fraud, about justice, and I need the entire post there as witnesses. Bobby set down his glass. Chuck, what's going on? So I told him. Everything. The birthday party insult, the metal theft, the FBI investigation, the $400,000 fraud scheme. When I finished, Bobby was quiet for a long moment. How many members you want there Monday? All of them. You got it. Bobby made 13 phone calls while I sat at the bar. To every member of VFW Post 1234. By 4 p.m., we had 47 confirmations. Every living member would be there Monday. But the most important call came Sunday evening. Stephen. Dad, Ashley says you invited us to the Memorial Day ceremony tomorrow. I did. She doesn't want to come. Says VFW events are boring. Tell Ashley it's important. Tell her it's about my will. Silence. Your will? I'm making some changes, Stephen. Big changes. And I want the family there when I announce them. What kind of changes? The kind that affect Ashley's future. Tell her she'll want to be there. Dad, are you okay? You sound different. Different. Yes, I was different. For the first time in years, I felt like the Marine I used to be. I'm fine, son. I'm just ready to set some things straight. Okay, we'll be there. 2:00, right? 2:15 sharp. And Stephen, wear something nice. This is going to be memorable. Monday morning, I put on my dress blues. Full military uniform, ribbons, badges, everything. Hadn't worn it in 5 years, but it still fit. I looked in the mirror. 75 years old, but my spine was straight. My shoulders were square. I looked like a Marine again. At 1300 hours, I drove to VFW Post 1234. Agent Martinez was already there, disguised as a catering worker. Rita Brown sat in the front row wearing her dress uniform. 47 Marines, soldiers, sailors, and airmen filled the ceremony hall, all waiting to see justice served. The trap we set was perfect. At 1400 hours, I stood behind the podium in VFW Post 1234. 47 veterans in dress uniforms filled every chair. American flags flanked the stage. The smell of coffee and Old Spice aftershave hung in the air. These were my brothers, men who'd bled for this country, men who understood honor. Agent Martinez stood near the back door, wearing a catering apron, digital recorder clipped inside her vest. 2 other FBI agents posed as maintenance workers outside. The wire taped to my chest felt warm against my skin. Rita Brown sat front row center, her lieutenant colonel insignia catching the light. Next to her, Bobby Thompson adjusted his prosthetic leg and checked his watch. 14:05, Chuck. Where are they? They'll be here. Ashley won't miss a chance to find out about inheritance money. The new will lay sealed in a manila envelope on the podium. Notarized Saturday morning by attorney Margaret Davis. $6.2 million. My house, investment accounts, savings, everything. All of it going to veteran organizations, Wounded Warrior Project, Fisher House Foundation, VFW National Home for Children, the Gary Sinise Foundation, 12 different charities that actually help veterans instead of stealing from them. Stephen and Ashley would get nothing. At 1412, the back doors of Nolmutad. Stephen walked in first, wearing a navy suit I'd bought him for Christmas 3 years ago. He looked nervous, kept glancing around at all the uniforms. Ashley followed, wearing designer jeans and a white blazer. Gucci purse, 5-inch heels, full makeup like she was attending a photo shoot. She looked completely out of place among the veterans. Dad, Stephen nodded. Nice turnout. Memorial Day brings out the patriots, I said. Ashley scanned the room with barely concealed annoyance. How long is this going to take? I have a showing at 4. Not long. Please, sit anywhere. They chose seats in the 3rd row. Ashley immediately pulled out her phone, started scrolling through Instagram. Even here, surrounded by men who'd served their country, she couldn't show basic respect. Perfect. The wire would pick up everything. I stepped to the microphone. Brothers, thank you for coming today. As you know, Memorial Day isn't about barbecues or beach trips. It's about remembering those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom. Hooah! Someone called from the back. Today, I want to talk about honor, about sacrifice, about what happens when people forget the cost of their freedom. Ashley looked up from her phone, finally paying attention. Some of you know I've been blessed financially over the years. Smart investments, careful planning. At 75, I've accumulated significant wealth, $6.2 million. Ashley's eyes locked onto mine, dollar signs flashing in her head. Now, family is supposed to be sacred. The people we trust most. The people who have our backs when times get tough. I looked directly at Stephen. His face was pale. But sometimes family disappoints us. Sometimes the people we love most choose greed over loyalty, choose selfishness over honor. What's he talking about? Ashley whispered to Stephen, loud enough for the wire to catch. I don't know, Stephen whispered back. That's why I've made some decisions about my estate. Decisions that reflect my values, decisions that honor the sacrifices made by better people than myself. I opened the manila envelope. This is my new will, executed 3 days ago. Witnessed and notarized. Ashley leaned forward in her chair. To be clear, I'm not sick. I'm not dying. I'm simply a man who's learned some hard truths about the people closest to him. Chuck, what are you doing? Stephen called out. I'm doing what Marines do, son. I'm completing the mission. Rita Brown nodded approvingly. You see, brothers, there are people in this world who view veterans as easy targets. Old men with old values, living alone, trusting too much. People who see our service as weakness instead of strength. Ashley's face was changing, the fake smile disappearing. People who steal from veterans, who forge documents, who lie to federal agencies, who sell our medals to the highest bidder. What the hell are you talking about? Ashley stood up. Sit down, Ashley. I'm not finished. I don't have to listen to this. Actually, you do. Because what I'm about to read affects you directly. Agent Martinez moved closer to the back exit. This new will contain some surprises, some justice, some long overdue consequences. I held up the document. But before I read it, I want everyone here to understand exactly why these changes were necessary. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. Ashley, you remember our conversation 3 days ago, don't you? The one where you called me a burden on the family? Her face went white. I recorded that conversation. In fact, I recorded several conversations. Would you like to hear what you really think about veterans? What happened when she realized the trap was beautiful? I pressed play on my phone. Ashley's voice filled the VFW hall through the sound system. Crystal clear, venomous. Chuck, no offense, but you're a burden on this family. Stephen and I are trying to build a life here, and we can't do that with you constantly needing attention and support. 47 veterans heard every word. The room was dead silent. It's not about money. It's about emotional energy. Stephen spends half his weekends babysitting you. That's time he could be spending with his wife. Babysitting. She'd called caring for a veteran babysitting. Ashley lunged for my phone. Turn that off. You can't record private conversations. Bobby Thompson stood up. Sit down, ma'am. Let the man finish. I kept playing the recording. Ashley's voice. Maybe it's time you stop living in the past. Nobody cares about your war stories. It's depressing and frankly embarrassing. A Marine in the fourth row muttered, Jesus Christ, under his breath. You're not special because you followed orders and shot people in a jungle. That did it. Every veteran in the room stood up. 47 men, ranging in age from 35 to 82, all staring at Ashley with pure contempt. Sit down, I commanded, military voice. They sat. Ashley was hyperventilating. This is insane. You're all insane. It's just an old man with hurt feelings. Just an old man? Rita Brown's voice cut through the tension. She stood up, her lieutenant colonel rank gleaming. Ma'am, this old man saved 12 American lives in Vietnam. He carried wounded soldiers to safety under enemy fire. What exactly have you done for your country? I don't have to justify myself to you people. You people? Bobby Thompson was back on his feet. You mean veterans? The people who died so you could have the freedom to steal from us? I haven't stolen anything. I pulled out a printed eBay listing, held it up for everyone to see. Vietnam War Purple Heart Medal, Authentic Military Award, starting bid $2,500. Buy it now, $3,200. Listed by seller Ashley, Lux, 32. The room erupted. Veterans shouting, cursing, chairs scraping. Order! Order! I banged on the podium. Ashley's face was scarlet. That's not mine. Someone's framing me. Really? Agent Martinez, would you like to comment on that? Agent Martinez stepped forward, badge visible now. Ashley Johnson, I'm Special Agent Sarah Martinez, FBI Financial Crimes Division. We've been investigating you for veteran fraud. Stephen's jaw dropped. FBI? Dad, what the hell is going on? Your wife has stolen over $400,000 from veterans and their families across 4 states, son. That's a lie, Ashley screamed. Is it? I pulled out another document. Bank records showing $47,000 in unauthorized withdrawals from my account. Forged power of attorney documents claiming I have dementia. Insurance fraud claiming you provide me 20 hours a week of care. Agent Martinez opened her folder. Mrs. Johnson, we have evidence linking you to the theft of 63 military medals, including a Medal of Honor from deceased Korean War veteran Frank Peterson. The room went nuclear. Veterans cursing, some crying. Frank Peterson had been beloved at this post. He'd died broke, but proud. His Medal of Honor was his family's most precious possession. Ashley was trapped. 47 witnesses, FBI agents, recordings, bank records. No way out. But she wasn't done fighting. You want to know the truth? Ashley stood on her chair, screaming at the room. You're all pathetic, living in the past, expecting everyone to worship you for something you did 50 years ago. Dead silence. You know what Vietnam was? A pointless war. You didn't save democracy. You followed orders and killed people for nothing. And now you sit around feeling sorry for yourselves while real people do real work. A Navy veteran near the front started crying. He'd lost 3 fingers to a grenade in Da Nang. The world moved on. Nobody cares about your medals. Nobody cares about your stories. You're just old men with PTSD who can't accept that you're irrelevant. That's when Stephen finally found his spine. Ashley, stop. Just stop. Don't you tell me to stop. Your father is trying to destroy our future over some stupid pieces of metal. Those stupid pieces of metal represent honor, sacrifice, things you'll never understand. Honor? Your father is a bitter old man who can't stand that his son chose his wife over his war buddies. I didn't choose you over him. I chose wrong over right, and I'm done. Stephen pulled off his wedding ring, set it on the chair next to him. We're getting divorced, Ashley. Today. You can't be serious. I should have defended him at the birthday party. I should have stopped you months ago. I'm ashamed of myself. Ashley looked around the room. 47 veterans staring at her with disgust. FBI agents closing in, her husband abandoning her, her crimes exposed. Fine. You want your precious military brotherhood? Keep it. I never needed any of you. Good, I said, because here's what happens next. I opened the will. My entire estate, $6.2 million, goes to veteran organizations. Ashley Johnson receives nothing. Stephen receives nothing. Every dollar goes to people who actually help veterans instead of stealing from them. Ashley collapsed into her chair. But that's not all. Agent Martinez stepped forward with handcuffs. Ashley Johnson, you're under arrest for mail fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, and violation of federal laws protecting veterans' benefits. Her reaction to the FBI handcuffs was perfect. Ashley fought the handcuffs like a wild animal. Get your hands off me. I know my rights. I want a lawyer. Agent Martinez remained calm, professional. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. This is harassment, entrapment. I'm being set up. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Ashley looked around the room desperately. 47 veterans watching her arrest, every face stone cold. No sympathy, no mercy. Stephen, help me. Tell them this is all a mistake. Stephen shook his head. Ashley, you stole from my father. You stole from dead veterans. There's no mistake here. I never stole anything. I found those medals. They were just sitting there. Agent Martinez pulled out a tablet. Mrs. Johnson, we have your eBay messages. Quote, thanks for your interest in the Purple Heart. Yes, it belonged to my late father-in-law. He passed away last month. End quote. That was a joke. I was being sarcastic. You told buyers Chuck Williams was dead. Multiple buyers, multiple times. The room was dead silent except for Ashley's labored breathing. We also have bank security footage of you withdrawing cash from Mr. Williams' account. 17 different transactions over 6 months. He gave me permission. Did he give you permission to forge power of attorney documents claiming he had dementia? Ashley's face crumpled. The fight went out of her all at once. I needed the money. Stephen's business was failing. We had bills, credit cards, the house payment. So you decided to steal from a veteran. He has more money than he knows what to do with. He's 75 years old. What does he need $6 million for? Bobby Thompson stood up. Maybe to leave it to people who deserve it instead of criminals who mock his service. Agent Martinez closed the handcuffs. Ashley Johnson, you're also being charged with conspiracy to commit mail fraud. We found evidence you weren't working alone. Stephen's face went white. What do you mean? Your signatures are on several forged documents, Mr. Williams. The power of attorney forms, the insurance claims. Either you were helping your wife commit fraud, or she forged your signature too. She forged my signature. I never signed anything giving her access to Dad's accounts. We'll need you to come in for questioning tomorrow. If you're innocent, we'll prove it. If you're lying, you'll join your wife in federal prison. Two more FBI agents entered the hall. They'd been waiting outside. Mrs. Johnson, we also have a warrant to search your home and vehicles. We expect to find more stolen military items. You can't do that. You need probable cause. We have probable cause. 63 victims across 4 states, $400,000 in documented theft, forged federal documents. They led Ashley toward the exit. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. At the door, she turned back one last time. Chuck, please, I'm sorry. I made mistakes, but you don't have to destroy my whole life over this. I looked at her for a long moment. This woman who'd called me a burden, who'd mocked my service, who'd stolen medals from dead heroes. Ashley, you destroyed your own life the moment you decided to steal from veterans. Please, I have nowhere to go, no family, nothing. You should have thought about that before you called me an old war relic. The FBI agents escorted her out. The heavy doors of VFW Post 1234 closed behind them. The room erupted in cheers, veterans hugging, shaking my hand, slapping my back, but I wasn't done yet. Brothers, there's one more thing you need to know. The room quieted down. Tomorrow morning, every veteran organization in this state will receive a substantial donation. Money that was almost stolen by criminals. Money that will now help heroes instead of enriching thieves. More cheers. And there's something else. Something about Ashley's family that even she doesn't know. The final revelation would change everything forever. After the FBI left, I asked everyone to sit back down. There's something else you need to hear. Something about why this case matters more than just money or medals. I pulled out a manila folder. Inside, military records from 1968. March 15th, 1969. Firebase Alpha, 20 miles northwest of Saigon. My squad was pinned down by enemy fire. 12 wounded Marines trapped in a rice paddy. The room was silent. I made 3 trips under fire to carry those men to safety. Took shrapnel in my shoulder on the 3rd trip, but I got them all out, all 12. Rita Brown nodded. She'd heard this story before. One of those Marines was Corporal Danny Johnson, 19 years old, kid from Phoenix, Arizona. Took 2 bullets in the chest. I carried him 600 yards to the medical station. I opened the folder, showed them a photograph. Black and white, faded. Young Marines in Vietnam. Danny Johnson survived. Went home to Phoenix, got married, had a daughter, named her Ashley. The room went dead quiet. Ashley Johnson is the daughter of a man I saved in Vietnam, and she never knew. Stephen's face was white as a sheet. Dad, are you saying... I'm saying your wife spent 2 years stealing from the man who saved her father's life. I pulled out another document. Danny Johnson died in 2020. Lung cancer from Agent Orange exposure. But before he died, he wrote me a letter, thanking me for saving his life, telling me about his daughter, how proud he was of her. The irony was devastating. Ashley grew up hearing stories about the Marine who saved her father. She just never knew it was me. Jesus, Bobby Thompson whispered. Danny Johnson was a good Marine, a good man. If he knew what his daughter had become, it would have killed him. I closed the folder. That's why I'm not pressing additional charges. That's why I'm not pursuing civil damages. Because somewhere up there, Danny Johnson is watching. And he's ashamed enough already. Stephen was crying now. Dad, I'm so sorry. Son, you have a choice to make. You can follow your wife to prison, or you can start acting like the man I raised you to be. What do you want me to do? Help the FBI. Tell them everything, make this right. He nodded. 3 months later, Ashley Johnson was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Stephen testified against her, received probation. The $6.2 million funded veterans programs across 12 states. And sometimes, late at night, I think about Danny Johnson, 19 years old, bleeding in a rice paddy, trusting an old Marine to carry him home. I kept that promise, Danny, even when it meant destroying his daughter.